Sorry, I just got done reading the script for today. That's how I do my predictions, because I got the script beforehand. Someone that don't have that are the casters, so let's get them right in here.
That's uncalled for and brutal. You didn't warn us about that. Damn.
I get to see it as well, because look, I don't have to do predictions as a guest, so I'm here as like a guest script writer. I'm kind of like getting work experience, figuring out how it all works in like from this side of the screen. You know, it's been pretty good fun.
Just like big media, I take all the credit, so that's fine, Sam. You gotta get used to it. No, so the person we haven't heard from on the test right now is Rudy. So how are you doing, friend? It's been a while.
Yeah, you know, it's been a weird week, but happy that we've got NLC back. I'm certainly looking forward to games, not necessarily that decide playoffs, but we're in that part of the season now where we've had our first round robin, we're into the second round robin, and now these games having a bit more weight, and these individual matchups, who's playing who, how do they relate to one another in the standings, is becoming a little bit more fleshed out, a little bit more defined, and these games are having a bit more stake in them.
Yeah, and a team that went flying into the second round robin was a team over at Nord, who last week was our team of the week. And look at this nice little graphic here. Shout out to the production team behind the back. Shout out to the coaching staff also being on here, Sam.
Yeah, for sure. And considering what the middle of the pack is looking like now, what the race for that last couple spots in playoffs is looking right now, having Nord on a bit of a tear, where they get that team of the week last week, where they come in looking increasingly competitive, I think is really, really good news, because it is really tight for that fourth place spot, and coming with a bit of fire behind you is exactly what you want to see if you're on Nord or if you're a Nord fan. Yeah,
and let's take a look at those standings, because we have them ready lined up for you at home. So, Verdant 8-1, as pretty much expected, I think. 7-2 on the native side of things. Ruddy and Nord 4-5, 5-4. Domino also in that bracket there with 4-5. And then you have Fourth Wall, Veneer 3-6. And then a little bit further behind the back, you have UniQ Esports Club Duckling.
Yeah, I mean, UniQ, they have been struggling for a while now, right? They looked pretty good coming out, and I was very excited for the roster. And then all of a sudden, they've just been losing and losing, and now they just keep on losing. And they really need to turn around today. I think today is their last chance in my eyes to keep themselves in that playoff spot, or in the race for players. You could say they're far from the spot at the moment, being 2-7. But with a 6-game loss streak, I think it's now or never against Fourth Wall. And to be honest, Fourth Wall, they're looking really good to me. They could definitely take the last playoff spot if they win today.
Yeah, looking into this now.
The important part about UniQ's sort of lineup going forward is that they've still got to play Verdant and Natives in this back half of the split.
Yeah.
So those are two teams that you do not want to have to go up against when you're still making this playoffs push. And obviously, you know, we're only like 2 games into the second round robin, so a lot of our lower end teams have got that stake to still be played. But UniQ, obviously, in this really compromised position where if they don't start to find those wins today of all days, even then it's very difficult for them regardless.
Yeah, and as you said, the first step on the way for UniQ are going to be Fourth Wall. But let's take a look at the rest of the games that we have on lock for you guys at home today here. UniQ Fourth Wall, first game of the day. Then we go into Veneer versus Natives. Then we go into Nord versus Verdant. And we close out the day with Ruddy Esports versus Domino. So, we already kind of discussed...
Interesting looking matches there, for sure.
Go ahead. Initialize. You have some thoughts.
Initialize on my screen, so I just jumped in. There we go. Ruining the host job. I'm sorry.
Initialize your process.
I know exactly. I come in as a guest and I start doing this. You know, I'm going to get myself in trouble. I'm never coming back. This is it. I'm done. I've interrupted the host. That's my life.
I'm opening my console. Initializing, kick, initialize, process, yes, sorry.
Frankly.
You did walk off stage last week as well.
There's no saving it. I'm done. I'm too much of a diva. What I was about to say, though, was these last 2 games in particular, I think, for me, look really interesting. For 2 very different reasons. I think, obviously, Ruddy and Domino, very close in the standings right now. And as we were saying, Ruddy's had a really rough time yesterday, I think. They kind of played their way into a hole and just dug it deeper. And, you know, Domino potentially sniffing a bit of blood in the water could be pretty scary. And then the one before that, you're going... Well, maybe, just maybe, something interesting can happen there, because you want to see that get closed out cleanly, but will it actually happen, especially considering Nord's been on a bit of a rise, and if anyone was going to take a game off Verdant, there's not that many teams left who can do it. Maybe Nord could maybe squeeze an upset in there.
The only team that so far has taken a game off of Verdant or Nord.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Just saying. Yeah, exactly. Thank you. See, someone's backing up my point.
Yeah, and they looked really, really good. I mean, Gooby didn't get to play the game in that game, right? Like, Seneca just 24/7 on him when Seneca was playing that Nautilus. But our match of the week is going to be Ruddy versus Domino. So let's get that going here in a second as well, I believe. Should be coming. 1, 2, 3. No?
Ooh, damn.
Nope.
Yeah, but that's what happens when you've written kicking our host. I mean,
yeah, the matchup is a dance battle on stream right now. We just set off, and now it's your turn, Duckling. And me and Rudy discussed that we're going after you.
Yeah,
I mean, I've been practicing with my celebrations and all that.
You gotta hit the Ruddy. I don't know how you hit the Ruddy, but you gotta hit the Ruddy.
I don't know how to hit the Ruddy. I mean,
so the thing is, you know, Dodge's going to come up with like a series, a whole dance battle video that he and Regan will come up with as a result of this.
We will do it eventually. Give us time. Regardless, though, this is the match of the week, and let's just take the conversation a whole different direction. Match of the day. I think this is a really, really exciting one. First of all, Blink being subbed in, having a great performance in his first game for Domino. They're looking stronger than I think I've ever seen Domino before, considering their performance yesterday. And Ruddy, as we mentioned, they had that rough loss, but this is also a very, very strong roster. If they get the snowball rolling, if they don't dig their own hole deeper than it needs to be, they can definitely win this game as well. And it's a crucial one, because if Domino take this, Ruddy and Domino will be tied up in the standings at the third place. So, Ruddy, they need to win this game to keep that playoff space a little bit more safe and not right in the battle with the other teams.
It makes it less close, right? It gives them a little bit of a buffer, I think is the important part.
Yeah.
Gives them that 2-game breathing room. There is still a world where Ruddy don't make playoffs. I don't see it happening. I think that they've confirmed themselves to me as a third-place team in this league. But obviously up against Domino, a team that I think coming into this season I had as probably the other team that we would see making playoffs. It'd be good to see where the power level of these two teams are, and on paper today it is the closest match.
Yeah, and before I'm sure we need to move on, I will just also add that yesterday, obviously, Domino had their win against UniQ, who are struggling. They are currently the worst team in terms of just form right now. They are also in the standings. They've just been overtaken by Fourth Wall, who seem to be potentially moving up the standings. So you're looking really at UniQ as the worst team in the league, at least on current form. Was it 6 losses in a row they're on now? And, you know, like, how much does that win yesterday for Domino actually mean with that in mind? I think Ruddy will be a much sterner test of where they're at power level wise. So I am interested to see how that plays out.
I think that's a good way to throw into our predictions, because this is a good conversation point. We're going to have these, because I think there's actually kind of a unity across the board here. And the people that have like made like interesting decisions aren't even on the broadcast. So I can't even be like, yo, Aragon, why did you pick UniQ? And I can't go, why, Hibrain, did you pick Nord? I mean, we know why you picked Nord, but
yeah.
Yes, I hit my mic. But I mean, there's just like general like unity across the board. I think everyone here is agreeing, and I want to hear from you, Initialize. Would you have made any other picks than what the majority of people have done today?
I think there is a real world where someone could absolutely gamble on Domino for the last game and not feel that bad about it. I think Ruddy is absolutely favored, if you know what but it's not by a huge margin, and both teams are volatile enough. I think that's probably true of Ruddy in particular, who do sometimes, when the game starts to go away for them, just decide, screw it, we'll brawl and try and play their way back into games. And that bit them yesterday. It's won them games in the past before as well. So the fact that that's universal across the board in that last matchup, I see as being potentially one that could go a bit wrong. And then, you know, obviously Nord already have the win over Verdant. I think Verdant are probably still favored for that. You obviously 8-1, right? You look at them as kind of the heir apparent to the NLC throne. But I can see an angle there as perhaps looking for the wild card victory there if you're looking to go up the prediction standings.
Yeah, I think with the predictions being in unison, I think the games are going to be a lot closer than our predictions say, because despite us all really flipping the coin and landing on the same side mostly, I can definitely see upsets happening here. Fourth Wall, yes, they have been good recently, but if UniQ, they need to find their stride now. They're pushed against the wall. Maybe they bounce back here. Aragon has predicted it. Of course, I think Vanir. They still have the players to be able to take down teams like Natives. For me, it's just, can they find the recipe without the Aphelios? I think, and then back to the Ruddy game as well. I think Ruddy, that's for me like a 55-45. I think Domino could definitely take them down. It's just, you know, the name recognition and the players, I just trust them a little bit more on Ruddy than I do on Domino, because I've been proven right with Ruddy so many times before, whereas for Domino, they're a bit more up and down.
Duckling, I need to tell you something here. Ask you something. Are you going pick or are you going ban? I'm flipping right now. No.
I think we should go into... I'm going...
There we
Is
go.
that your car keys?
Go on.
Into draft we
never
go.
know.
What?
Never know. Like,
What is
watching
happening?
Voodoo's face get more and more like weirded out. Like, what is going on?
We may
We've
never
lost the
know.
plot on the NLC. This is for sure. Regardless, though, we're heading into the draft for the first game of the day, gentlemen. And it is UniQ going up against Fourth Wall. Fourth Wall looking to keep that momentum going, as we say. UniQ, 6-game loss streak. Will it be 7? Or can they turn it around here? Regardless, though, as the draft has unfolded, Tristana Puppy being taken away by UniQ, and Fourth Wall have banned away the Draven from Rusty Sniper alongside the Maokai.
Yeah, I think all of these bans make a lot of sense. I think the Milio also makes a lot of sense because Ragnar's already pulled out the Lucian to relatively lethal effect, and Kemra isn't bad at the Milio, and that pairing is just really, really disgusting. It's a lot of those setup engage, team fight junglers out of the way with the Maokai and the Sejuani and Draven. I think especially if sometimes we like to see Kemra roaming around on things like the Rel or things that compare it particularly with Jinrai, who has been a really big sort of catalyst for things happening on the team. I think trying to make sure that things like the Draven aren't going to make it a difficulty to leave lane safely, I can see where that's a decent pick away.
I think it's important to try and lock in Jinrai's a good mid lane matchup.
Yeah.
Whether it is just a R5 counter pick of something like Alessandra and Annie, something that's a little less R5 spicy, but more spicy to give a winning lane over to Jinrai, particularly as well since one of UniQ Twins has come when UniQcorn played an Aurelia match versus a control mage in the mid lane, absolutely bodied a Victor in one of their wins that they have secured. So just making sure that UniQcorn doesn't have that option open to him and giving Jinrai something comfortable that he can move about the map on, facilitate that success for Ragnar. It feels like the route to success for Fourth Wall around these objectives.
Regardless, the patch note, we talked a lot about this yesterday on air. But apparently, guys don't really care about the nerfs. Aphelios will still be locked in yet again. Did have a lot of success yesterday, but that was mainly paired with the Milio. With that being banned away, we'll get to see a different pairing and a very quick response here from UniQ.
Yes.
Locking in the rail, securing that bot lane combo alongside securing the mid lane of a UniQcorn on the Azir.
All I'm saying is it a jungler? Is it a jungle
be.
route? Because
I
we've
mean,
seen a
Rakan
little
is
bit
still
of that
open.
around very rarely. I mean, it's still strictly a flex. Obviously, we're chatting about the patch note coming through, and Rel was one of the big recipients of changes over the last couple patches, so fun to see that locked in here. And what do you know? It's the Lissandra for Jinrai. I've seen that one before.
Yeah, and this is like, whenever you see the high elo players autofill to mid lane, Lissandra's the go-to. This is why Lissandra ends up getting such a good reputation, because not just is her barrier for how easy it is to play okay on this champion very low, it's not that difficult to play a little bit, but she also has an incredible ceiling where you can perform immaculately in team fights, locking down the correct target, buying space, zoning away crucial enemies. Jinrai has really shown that he can perform all of those duties all on one champion, so I'm loving to see this pick picked up for him.
I think also in on that point as well, we are looking at a pretty obvious play pattern that Fourth Wall can index into. You've got some really good go buttons already between a Jarvan and a Lissandra who can come in from different angles, jump on the same kind of targets. You've got the Aphelios to be a carry in Ragnar as well. That's some really good scaling damage. You're feeling pretty happy about how you play out the game already. And UniQ, they've got options themselves, but they still need to kind of, at least for me, define their comp a little bit more, because obviously the Zyra and the Azir have got some decent disengage, but Rel's more about going forwards, and there's still a little bit more work to be done to figure out exactly how they want their game plan to look, I think.
Somebody needs to go forward with the Rel, right?
Yeah.
Because if Poopy ends up jumping in, Poopy's going to die on his own. We need to see something in that front line. A Wukong is something that's possible. We've got Sejuani banned away, so that's not a choice, but Waljo to go for something more Bruiser-esque, and probably the same thing for Ukko as well on the top side.
Wukong's up. That feels like a pretty obvious choice to me.
I do want to highlight, with the power of the Rel flex, right? Just the possibility of it being jungle actually did force Fourth Wall into banning the Rakan and showing that strong 2v2 wasn't going to be locked in. So kind of denying a bit of possibility here for Fourth Wall in terms of that bans. Do we want to see the Rel jungle? I think the Rel jungle could definitely work. If you got an engaged top laner, you have a very strong engaged possibility there. If you want to get something more aggressive on the support role as well, obviously the Rel very aggressive, but I think, yeah, it's the Rel jungle. That's actually banging.
It could also strictly be Nautilus jungle. I'm just saying, we've seen that's kind of fallen off favor a little bit. It probably is Rel. Obviously had a lot of buffs to her ability to clear, her ability to go in and actually do a surprising amount of burst, just be tanky. You get a lot of resist by hitting multiple members with your engages. You have got a couple lanes now to set up for. Rel Nautilus as a combo roaming around as a jungle support. That sounds pretty unfun. And when you add in like the Ornn and the Azir, and now you added a Heimerdinger to try and save whoever's getting dived on, that Rel or Nautilus might have a worse time there. That's some fun flexes from both sides, actually.
I love the power of this R5, and so infrequently am I surprised what an R5 pick ends up being. It's very often that it's just very boring, very vanilla, that's good as an answer. Now, this is one where it is both a very good answer to what has been drafted, but also just a very, very out of left field almost from what we've seen in at least this split. It was very popular back in spring at the start, but Heimerdinger coming back into the NLC. Very good versus your Nautilus, very good versus your Rel. As soon as anybody jumps forward, they just get met with a boatload of stuns and a load of CC as well.
I mean, the amount of CC there on that Unique side, the 2v2 there with Voljo and the support, if they team up, I mean, there is no way about it. You can't escape that. It's too much CC, and the base damages on both Nautilus and Rel are actually surprisingly high. Despite Rel having received quite a few nerfs to her base damage, it is still strong enough. So as long as you just get either Unicorn or Rossi Stamp as a backup, you should definitely be able to get kills if you want. I'm very excited to see how that plays out, really, and I think you have great engage for the team fight as well. You have the Ornhorn, you have you have an AD carry, an AP carry. It's not stock standard because it's a real jungle after all, but it is a pretty simple comp in that sense.
Yeah, extrapolate this comp into a lot of different styles and certainly expect to see success with it. It's 2 frontline, or it's 3 frontline and 2 damage. There's not an enchanter there to buff one of them up, and granted the tanks may look a little bit weird, the frontliners are a little bit strange, but they have got that default, if all else fails, we've got Xayah and Azir to carry.
Yeah, exactly that. And I think as well as that, you've got to notice is what kind of frontline you've got, because Nautilus and Rel are conditionally tanky, right? It involves hitting a lot of people at once for Rel to get your resist up. At Nautilus, you want your shield up, you want to hit your keystone. That's what I'm thinking of. You want your runes working. Otherwise, you're not as tanky as you think you are. But you have got a lot of ability to go in. You've got a lot of ability to start fight with those frontliners. And you're looking on the other side at what Fourth Wall have got, and it's a bit pick heavier between the Lissandra and the Heimerdinger backing up on whatever the Jarvan goes on. You can sort of see how the skirmishes and your ability to just CC one target into Doom is pretty heavy there, and a little bit of maybe the Gragas to try and knock someone apart, split up a team fight, and make those picks a bit more viable as well. Makes some sense. It's just slightly different takes on a similar game plan, though. I will say for Fourth Wall, they're probably more reliant on finding a good flank, but hey, we've seen that become something they've become quite proficient at over the last couple of weeks. So I think they're not unhappy with what they're running here.
And I think that it's important to acknowledge sort of the double pivot done by both sides, because Unique had this very backline focused composition to begin with in the first 3 picks. We saw a lot of dive from Fourth Wall in the first 3 picks, and then immediately Unique went, well, we need to dive, and then Fourth Wall went, well, we need things that can answer dive. So they lock in the Gragas and the Heimerdinger, which receive dive very well. So both of these 2 teams have got options to receive engages very well. I think just a little bit more so favoured toward Fourth Wall by nature of having Heimerdinger on their side, Gragas as well to disrupt any engages that come through if they're a little disjointed. The very easy thing that you can do with a Gragas here for Molto, I'm looking to see if you can separate that front from backline, particularly on the timing in which we see Unique go for an engage. So you see Nautilus fly forward, the Rel go forward, and then all of a sudden if you just displace the carries, Rusty Sniper and Unicorn, those are just 2-3 tanks that have jumped in but have no damage to back them up.
The only thing I will throw in here, and this is a little bit one of those conversations that can be quite nuanced because it'll depend on Aphelios's weapons, and it'll depend on how good the Heimerdinger turrets are set up, because that's a lot of zone control around objective if you're there first. But then I look at the other side and I'm going, Azir's going to outrange the Lissandra pretty heavily in those team fights, unless she's going all in to get him in range for obviously her whole CC suite. And you've got a Xayah as well, who you've got the feathers around her, has got ways to be pretty controlling of space as well. And you look at that and say, unless Aphelios got the right weapons, if it just turns into a lot of no man's land and battle lines drawn around objectives, you probably feel like the side of Unique will probably win out the chip war, sort of. But again, that's why I'm saying like Aphelios weapons and a Heimer turret setups will be pretty key there.
Yeah, I think in particular the Heimerdinger will be very exciting to see the impact that he will have. Specifically counterpicked towards all the engage in this front line that just wants to go forward from Unique. So I think Chimera has a lot of pressure on his shoulder to really be placing these turrets correctly. And as we just take a look at what happens here, like an early engage or an early play from Unique could be coming through.
So BM. So BM.
Oh,
okay.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Let's see, he has to run away. The turrets aren't set up properly. That's actually pretty huge, because the level 1 Heimerdinger turret setup is often really, really key. So the fact they get all of those turrets and prevent that lane setup is a pretty big deal. You can see Camera has actually had to go back straight away. Probably going to come back out now, and that's fine. But You're not going to be able to get control of the lane the way you often do as a Heimerdinger by just spamming those turrets and bushes and stuff and making sure that you get the shove early.
This was vision traded as well, so we can see the top side. There is a ward on the Wolves placed by Molto. Means that there's going to be a little bit more information on the starting path for Waljo. And of course, Rel Jungle, we'll have to see how well our teams have done the scouting to see, knowing what the clears are, etc. But I also want to point out a little bit of foreshadowing that we got to see there, and something that you kind of highlighted a little bit earlier on Initialize, where we saw Unicorn just outranging the Heimer turrets as well, and that's something that later on we can expect to see. Chimera will actually need to be very careful with these Heimer turret placements, because the Azir can just put a soldier down, queue into the turrets without taking any damage, and be able to take away that zone control that Chimera offers.
One thing that I've realized here as well is Woljo either uses potion or whatever they're doing down bot, or just didn't buy one at all, saving that gold up. And I just want to take a look at his clear speed, how healthy is it, because I know this was one of the questions me and Veteran discussed yesterday before we went on air, if we were going to see Rel Jungle. Well, how good is the clear? Are you going to be punished by your slow clear early on? And so far, you know, they're actually ahead of pace compared to his counterpart in Jute. There will be a longer rotation time between your bot jungle and your top jungle now, because Woljo just started his Raptors and not his Crocs or Red Buff. Regardless, though, so far
what
so
if he
good
goes
for
bot
the
lane?
Yeah, could also go for the game
bot lane.
And so they saw early vision that Waljo started Raptors. They're going to know that he's on this bot side. So whether or not they see him now path back up through this wall, they should be playing more respectfully.
Oh, Waljo has been spot on the wall. The Rusty Sniper is so low. So maybe Fourth Wall want to try and turn this Chimera right underneath his turret. But the CC is just so big. The Ignite is ticking and it won't quite be enough. Waljo should be able to see the kill, but doesn't have the movement speed. Yeah, the turrets are doing so much damage. And as Rusty Sniper is able to get him in return, it is a 1-for-1. But it was Unique making the play, and it was Fourth Wall getting the first blood all along.
Disrespectful from Fourth Wall. They had complete vision to scout this out to stop it from happening. They knew that Waljo had pathed toward this bot side of the map, and there's even a second ward placed by Jinray to see the Rel path back up to that top side, but they still get caught out. The fortunate thing is they probably come out even in that trade. They're able to give a kill back to Chimera. Granted, it's a kill onto Rusty Sniper, and he now goes into the lane with a red buff. Overall as well, you stopped his clear to get to that bot side and not really accomplish anything. So, you know, looking at it in retrospect, it might actually just be a net neutral trade.
Yeah, I actually think it's probably Fourth Wall favoured, personally, because the turrets are still there. Ragnar keeps his HP bar. You've burnt all the summoners, and the pots are kind of gone for the side of Rusty Sniper and Poopy, and their lane state is still in a rough position. It's not broken, this shove that's coming on through. Waljo dies doing it as well. It's always rough to gank a Heimerdinger, especially when you don't have a way to get people out of the turrets, and that's a tough space to be in. Like, yes, at least you got a kill, and it was a complete wash, but I don't think they got anywhere near what they were looking for there, despite the pretty heavy shove from Fourth Wall.
But I think we saw the plan, right? We could see the damage, we could see the CC, but they simply didn't have enough, and then we saw the effect of the Heimerdinger turrets, because the damage that those were able to unleash onto Waljo was very, very heavy. Regardless, though, as the game now continues, Jude is able to steal away the Raptors early on, as it is Waljo just finishing up his first clear after having spent so much time in the bot side. He'll have to finish his Wolves here and realize that his Raptors are already gone.
I'm just going to put this out there as well. Rusty and Poopy are not going to get to be able to back very easily here because of where the shove's at, and you can see exactly where Ute is. I think he'll have spotted Waljo out just as he's walking past his Raptors. He'll know where the Rel is, and look at the items, look at the way the state is. You know, you got the camera gets to go back and get an Amtem, which isn't a lot, but it makes a lot of difference this early on. Yes, Rel's back. I don't know whether this change is coming back.
Yeah. Difficult to execute, especially when there's a little bit of vision. It gives Fourth Wall just that timing to set up another couple of turrets and make sure that their positioning for the 2 versus 3 looks really good. And it's a really great point that you bring up, Initialize, because the base timing for Rusty Sniper Poopy is so hard to find. They never have push, they never have control. Ragnar and Chimera are always shoving this bot wave in. It gives impunity on the bot side for you to invade. It means that this bot side can take a recall at any moment's notice. I'd really like to just see them stick it out, firm this lane state, and try and punish every single wave. Get a little bit of chip damage onto Poopy under the turret and make sure that Rusty Sniper Poopy can never actually get a base without losing something. And that's what you
hit the turret. Good base damage. QE could be not quite in range. I mean, we all felt that was close, but we're still seeing the plan from Fourth Wall coming into fruition. They managed to stop both the recalls there. I mean, yes, they did lose some HP, but still have one trade. Ute is now able to take away the Drake for free. Woljo is on the top side, so Fourth Wall getting something here, and yet again, they're just keeping the bot lane locked underneath that turret.
And what this means as well is they're going to get the reset off a little bit earlier. It means they can sort of potentially then set up for the Herald with the Dragon already down. And that's that kind of the power of that sort of 6-minute-ish timer Drake. And Waljo is on the other side and will try and get towards Molto. But that's... Oh, no, Arco.
Oh,
that's rough.
I mean, I like the idea. I really like the idea, but the execution not quite there.
It's a well-timed cask from Molto as well, worth recognizing that he's just used the cask to stop R2 from being easily reactivated from Uko, and like you say, respect the effort that he tries to get in there and still make the on work. And this is good foreshadowing once again. Our later game team fights, if that's replicable for Molto, is going to make the team fight for UniQ a lot harder.
And now I'm kind of looking at what happens next, because obviously Herald's going to come up, and that feels like probably where Fourth will be turning their attention next, and they want to kind of leverage the pressure they've kind of been able to wield on the bot side of the map and try and keep someone pinned under that turret to make an easy roam towards mid and towards this Herald. A little bit like this.
Yeah, 3-man mid. They definitely want to do something here, but as Yute shows himself early on, Molto starts running back towards the top lane. Yuko properly calling out that someone was missing, and as Woljo, level 5 to level 5, just used all his abilities here. Will be able to secure his own Raptors for the second time, one of them being stolen away, obviously, as UniQ will be able to catch this wave as well.
Do want to take a quick look at our mid lane itemizations. Really nice respect paid by UniQ. Knows that the only real way that he dies is if he gets Lissandra ulted, and not taking the cleanse has had to pay that Merc Treads price early on. The increased tenacity means that lockdown timer on the Lissandra is going to be significantly reduced, and pays that respect as well, hovering up towards the top side, knowing that we've got you on that bot side of the map.
You know, add in a Gragas and a Heimerdinger on top of that, who all bring their own CC. You go, yeah, that feels like triple AP with a lot of CC. Merc Tread value this game is so high for UniQ, and here we go again. Last couple attempts haven't been fantastic, but they're looking at a bot lane dive here, and Woljo's there, but he's on a ward again.
Don't do it.
Jinrai's around the corner as well. Just saying, this sounds like a bad idea to me.
Luckily, he backed off. Smartly, he realized the play wasn't going to be a good one for them. The red and white guns as well not going to be fun for UniQ, rather, if they went for the play. The good thing, though, is UniQ has been able to get the reset. I mean, they're surviving the lane. They have gotten a kill on Rusty Sniper, so they've been able to survive the early pressure, and as you might be caught out here on the Herald that spawned just 30 seconds ago. Woljo rotating up as well. Yute still hasn't hit that level 6, so...
He's a camp off.
Yeah, still needs the red buff beforehand, and maybe the Herald doesn't reset. Woljo can look to take this. Does have good damage on these big objectives with the E bonus damage. So should be able to secure it fairly easily, but Yute looks to contest, and now in the mid lane as well. Jinrai's able to claw his way out of there for now as Poopy flashes forward. UniQ could look to shuffle him back just to wait for the frozen prison.
Oh, good flash.
Nice flash, yeah, very good flash. And Yute isn't able to secure the Herald. It is actually over to the side of UniQ. And Woljo could look to go further here, but doesn't want to pull the trigger, unable to connect with the Q.
So overall, a decent enough win for UniQ across the map. They get the Herald right, they've burned Flash and ulti from Jinrai's. Now it did come at the cost of Rusty Sniper's cleanse plus ulti on that bot side of the map. Good to see that Chimera and Ragnar were punishing, and now they've got a very small window to make this happen.
Just
flash down as well.
Yeah, easily forces the flash. Maybe UniQ wants to do something here, doesn't have the shuffle available though. So the Emperor's Divide being down, he doesn't want to go for the fight. Poopy caught it on a wall. Will just be stopped in his tracks, and fourth wall look to push in the wave again. And I think we're back to the early game minutes, guys, here, where it was just fourth wall pushing in the bot of UniQ.
And they try to have their cake and eat it too, right? Because Yute was trying to rush that Herald down while level 5 and do it before Woljo could get over there. And unfortunately for him, Poopy leaves the lane. It leaves Rusty in a difficult position, as we kind of saw. But Woljo took the extra camp. He was at 6, Yute wasn't. And that cost them a couple of summoners. It cost them the flash in mid lane, but maybe Molto's in a spot of bother now, having gone very deep behind enemy lines for some reason or another.
I think he's in a lot of trouble. Does not have the flash available, but somehow finds the body slam. Does have the explosive cask as well.
Oh no!
Oh no! Can't quite hit the plant. And now he's knocked. What? No! What? What? No! I think the Q wall came up and stopped him from being knocked. No way he's gonna survive due to that. No way.
Over the wall.
UniQ can roam. He's gone.
No way. I mean, he's buying out of time. He's gonna go down here eventually.
Yeah,
They're gonna give the kill over to UniQ, but nah, that is such a weird interaction. I've never seen that before. The on Q denied the jump from the blast cone. Poopy.
I see Jinray in trouble as well here. Gets Hex Flash at the very least from Poopy. Benny Hill music honestly needs to be played over that whole like last 30 seconds worth of playtime. Something that we've just seen overall for Fourth Wall is a heavy stock into the bot side of the map, putting Ragnar as far ahead as possible. And unfortunately, on the timer of this second dragon, the items just aren't quite embodying that. Rusty Sniper comes into this with a full Kraken Slayer where we've got components on the other side. If there is a fight around this dragon, which, you know, Unique certainly look like they want, you're expecting it to go Unique's way.
And look at the cooldown, there is no explosive cast to try and disrupt the fight. Molto isn't even there at the beginning. Herald has been charged in. Yuko able to collect that gold. Drake taken down to 3.5k. Should be good easily unless the fight is what they want instead. Kamara though, good block with the upgraded Q. And look at the damage in return. Back. The re-engage is massive here from the side of Fourth Wall, who've already picked up 2. They'll look for more 4. Easily secured there for them, and they will get the Drake. They get absolutely everything in a destroying fight there. Fourth Wall lead.
Jinray once again dives into the midst of everybody. This Lissandra at mid-game team fights just never misses. They engage onto Chimera, who has a beautiful flash over the wall and keeps himself alive while his turrets are doing immense amount of damage.
Ooh, Ute, that's unfortunate. I don't think he's got anywhere to go. Oh, that's a rough back.
Yeah.
Silver lining.
Now that's... Well, yes, it sours the play a little bit, but overall still very good for Fourth Wall.
I mean, exactly that. I was about to give a load of praise over the Jinrai and Camera, who have really turned up to be a playmaking duo that Fourth Wall really needed to have an identity, to find a way to play the game, because they look really lost for the first half of this split, and they've kind of come into the back half looking like they know exactly how they want to play, and those kind of fights around Dragons have been their bread and butter over the last 2 weeks, and they pull it off again. Unfortunately for them, though, they do get the one who gets caught at the end of it, which is a bit rough, and giving a kill over the Azir, who we kind of noted as someone who might be a little bit problematic if we end up with sort of drawn-out fight around objectives. It's perhaps not what they wanted to see.
I will say, though, one thing that I find really positive about the fight for Fourth Wall, first of all, Chimera's play was just absolutely fantastic, but the amount of damage that he dishes out as well, building this AP, it adds another important target for Unique to target down, which gives Ragnar that extra space because he won't have 4-man jumping at him. Chimera is pretty much just as important to take down early in a fight to deny as much of that turret damage, so Ragnar should be having an easier time staying alive as Wulju gets found out in his own jungle by 3 men, jumps forward. Yeah, he's too far forward there.
This combo, Jinrai plus jungle or support, this time, I mean, it's just huge. Kemmer and Jinrai are there, and they make these picks happen so consistently. When you've got a Jarvan and a Heimerdinger or a Lissandra, it's so on brand, and now Uko is dead as well. There's nowhere for him to go. This has to be the ult from the gods.
Yeah, and he's not even going to get a chance to send it back. He's just dead underneath the turret. Cleanly executed dive there from Fourth Wall.
Now, if we're looking for silver linings, and granted they are few and far between at the minute, it's that Unique's gold, however much further behind Fourth Wall it is in the right places. They've got kills on their mid laner, kills on their AD carry, and as we're looking later into this game, we are looking to Unique Core and Rusty Sniper to be those DPS threats that can potentially chew through Ute, chew through Molto, because both of those are going to look to be heavy front lines. But again, it's few gold that is coming through, and Jinray may be caught here.
Yeah, but
why is he backing off? Yeah, I can't walk up there. Especially because they've got wards all over the blue side quadrant of Unique's map, and the fact that they don't know where anybody is. Oh no, don't walk. That was bold. Gets away with that as the resets came through.
I mean, fair play to Jinray. He's been really, really good at reading when he can step up. So far throughout the split, I've been really impressed by him. You know, it's yet another one of these young Danes which I have heard about, but I haven't been fully sold about. But he's definitely
he managed 14 minutes through, dude, before it started.
14 minutes before I had to bring it out. Let's see what happens in this fight. I was cancelled by the action of the game as Ragnar looks to be going down here. Unicorn surviving barely. Chimera though on the wrong side of the rift. Maybe yes, he actually is able to get over to Molto pretty safely. Unique though.
He might be able to fight his way out.
I mean, he definitely could. Doesn't have the ultimate though, so it's pretty squishy.
There's 2 of them here. They've got nowhere to go. They can.
They can just go on Rusty Sniper though. Yuda's there as well. Rusty Sniper's all alone. 2 people join him though, and now they look to turn on him. Featherstorm, yeah, very good Featherstorm, and there comes the Blade Caller as well. 2 kills more into the hands of Unique. Rusty Sniper with 1 and Wulju as well. Massive fight there for them as they overall get 3 kills.
I think both me and Rudu are a little bit stunned there because obviously the pick-off before the Herald wasn't great, and then you sort of saw that Molto and Kemra were like, we're in trouble because they're caught in no man's land and didn't really have an exit strategy. That'll be one to VOD review because you have to feel there was an easy way to extricate there.
It's always, in a situation like that, it's always go on the weakest possible flank side, right? You're getting collapsed on by 4 different people from 3-4 different angles. You just have to try and commit to whichever side seems weakest. Now, Rusty Sniper did a very good job, used his Featherstorm as perfectly as possible, used the flash to reposition, land double root, and secure no casualties. And of course, getting the Rift Herald off the back of that grants UniQ a way back into this game. They were 4,000 gold behind before that. Ragnar stepping too far forward in the mid lane means that he goes down and starts that snowball effect. So we now see both mid-tier 1s still alive.
Unicorn. He finds the pick, and it's such a crucial target as well. Just before the fight, though, Jinrei's 3-man root, the damage, though, and follow-up, not quite there. And on the other end, it's Ragnar fighting 1v2, and I think he's winning it. He's getting Yuko flashing away. Rusty Sniper should be able to take him down in the extended fight. He does, but on the other side of the rift, UniQ have simply lost the fight. Rusty Sniper and Unicorn, all that remain as Jinrei's will chase him down for the killing spree and the Drake for 4th wall.
4 for 2 in favour of 4th wall. It's getting very messy on Summoner's Rift at the minute. Lots of skirmishes back and forth, but overall 4th wall are the ones coming away with the wins.
And once again, they jump on camera, but the amount of damage he puts out before he dies is pretty nasty. The turrets weren't dealt with, they were there, and then Jinrei finds the mother of all engages. Again, this guy is so good. And then you look at the top side of the screen, you're realizing Ragnar just gets to stand and deliver. Yes, he dies, but he takes out half of Rusty Sniper's health bar on the way. They've now found themselves at Soul Point. This will be the replay to show it, and you'll kind of see that, yes, Ragnar just gets to Severum Crescendum at people. It's in a 1v2 with an Ornn and a Xayah, and still comes away with Ornn's flash, Rusty Sniper's, like, half of it bar. Like, you can't ask for much more in that scenario while your team's winning on the other side with a man down. 4th wall get away with absolute murder. No puns intended, considering the amount of bodies on the floor.
But I mean, I'm very happy you brought up Jinrei's performance as well with the engage, because that, you know, opens up the door for me to talk about him even more. But he's been very phenomenal on these engage mid laners in particular. The Lissandra has just been absolutely phenomenal, and I think we need to start raising the point of when you're playing against 4th wall, should you start banning the Lissandra, because he's been phenomenal in every single game I've seen him play it so far. Able to find the engages, able to also stay alive. He's not just suiciding, he's finding the right plays, and 4th wall might just find another play here that they can take.
It's the roaming Heimerdinger. Most dangerous of all support roams.
Very dangerous, yeah. So dangerous, I saw that.
You couldn't have built that up better, actually. Puts 1 turret down, 1 auto attack, and immediate disengage. To give some context, I suppose, as you know, this mid-tier 1 falls. No engage, fortunately. Well, not yet anyway. I think they're going to fight. Don't claim.
Wait, what's happening? Oh my god, the Unicorn, he's just dead instantly. Woljo fails the combo over the wall, and now Rusty Sniper's locked up, almost instantly taken down. It's just a clean wipe. They're all gone. It's just Yuko left, and he can't even get to tell the tale because there's no way out. 4th wall, clean the house and get the ace.
I'm going to put this out there. If this happened 30 seconds later, that's Baron. You have got to be so careful about making those kind of plays. And once again, an overengage onto a Heimerdinger costs UniQ so much.
Overloading constantly onto this, you know, albeit very real threat of Chimera. Yeah. The unfortunate thing is that there are just more threats that 4th wall are throwing at you. Jinrei's Ragnar doing very good work in the backline, and I actually have to give some very real credit to Molto Ute right there. Their juggling of backline management was incredible. Molto played with the entirety of his health bar before flashing and dashing away, and then just basically tagging you in, and then keeping Rusty Sniper occupied. There was nothing that the Xayah could do. Rusty was DPSing the entire fight. Unfortunately, it was just DPSing 2 tanks that have got enough stats to hold up.
Yeah, here we go again, though. Oh, Poopy. Don't there's anywhere to go. Let's side down the loop.
Yeah, and this time Baron is available, so 4th wall can maybe look to play around that. Poopy did for 30 seconds, and I want to point out some of the item differentials as well, unless you decide to fully commit here on Unicorn. Does have the sliding glide to get out for now, though, but he's stuck in a bad situation. Doesn't have the flash and couldn't really get over both walls. So now he just tries to deal the damage back, and Jinrei's should go down, but no. This stopwatch keeps them alive. They're just running into the meat grinder that is fourth wall, and they're all dying. And that's certainly Baron for the fourth wall.
Look, at least the Heimerdinger finally died. It cost them another 3 members.
Hey.
Goes down. Finally, they get something back. But this actually is Baron. This time it is post 20 minutes, and this time fourth wall will not be taking no for an answer. Fantastic sequence of picks.
Important that they do take down Jinrei's. They, you know, they're limiting at the very least that 1-3-1 capability. As much as we haven't seen fourth wall go for it, the fact that there's not going to be that side lane extra that's buffed up with Baron, certainly quite significant. And, you know, the little gold injection onto Uko is never going to be lost. Manages to pick himself up a full Sunfire off the back of that shutdown. So a lot of gold going into the Ornn, maybe not the premier target, but with fourth wall just walking about with impunity at this point on the map. Whoever gets picked, there are 3 different people springing out of the woodwork to protect them. Very strong team cohesion for fourth wall, something that was notably lacking, and for a team that was 1-6 just a couple of weeks ago, this is an immaculate turnaround in the season.
Yeah, they're looking so much better, and the difference, especially in the bot lane gold, is clear as night and day when you look at the items. It's just 1.5, almost 2 items now from Rusty Sniper, but it's 2.5 items here for Ragnar. 1.5 on Rusty Sniper. Poopy still just sitting on components. Chimera, who we've been talking about as someone who's able to deal so much damage, is sitting on 1.5 item as well. And you can just sense it in these team fights. Despite Rusty Sniper sometimes being able to get pretty good positioning and being able to dish out damage, he just doesn't have much to dish out because he's so far behind in the item game. Whereas Ragnar, give him a couple seconds and he's able to pretty much shred through any HP bar. And it's a really, really rough thing to claw themselves out of the situation.
It's 10 seconds until what will be Mountain Soul, and fourth wall are not miles off a 4th win and tying themselves up, pending results for the rest of the day, with that last playoff spot, with Domino, with Nord. That puts so much pressure on the teams above them. Need to make sure they can kind of close this one out, though claiming this Mountain Soul will be a great start for it, unless Warjo get over the wall and find a steal.
Will it be a 50-50, Warjo? Definitely a possibility of getting into the pit, but he needs to go now because it's falling ever so low. He's in there. Can he get it? No, not quite. He'll die instead, and Jinrei's finds the engage on the other side, knocked up. Very good Frozen Tomb there to keep himself safe. Yuko with the somewhat re-engage or disengage, you could call it, because UniQ, they want no part in this fight. They're just trying to get out with as much as possible. They get the Drake, they get the soul on fourth wall. Happy campers at the moment.
And if there was a better example of the zoning capability of Jinrei Chimera, they just 2v3'd on the backside of that Drake fight. It was absolutely disgusting. They didn't need to do damage to UniQ. They just stopped anybody else from getting into the pit. As long as UniQ are taking this split approach, Waljo, I think quite rightly, tried to sacrifice himself to steal the soul.
Sniper and Poopy in a bad situation. And Ragnar goes gold with the stopwatch. Chimera gets exploded actually by Rusty Sniper, and that is something back, but it's not gonna matter. It's a double kill for Ragnar. Now 10, 2, and 6.
Every time you kill off camera, he does not go quietly into the night. 10, 2, and 6 as you were saying for Ragnar. Now they're going to try and push in, and it's just 23 minutes. Where has this team been?
He has a good angle here for Ragnar.
Split?
Look at Ragnar, man. He's just not dying. He's almost full HP. Down to half, though. The turret deals good damage. UniQ could look for something. No flash, though. But the HP bars are low. Maybe the possibility is there for something. But as Jinrei just continues to absolutely smurf his way on the Lissandra, there is no way that this can get turned around, because this is his kingdom and he's dominating with a double kill. Fantastic play for him, as Yuko will be bounced back into the waiting hands of Ragnar. And fourth wall look to potentially close out the game here. Carries low, however, and they will wait for another time.
And once again, fourth will come out on top in these skirmishes, and they are so much more decisive. They are so much more coordinated when it comes to making these plays happen, particularly around those playmaking members of that mid, that jungle, the support. You can see they pick it in the champions. You can see it in the play style. And if they want to make the miracle run to playoffs happen, going from 1-6 and finding their way into one of those top 4 spots to make, you know, even something as halcyon and previously completely impossible thoughts of something like an Emir Masters spot, the start has to be getting the wins on the board. Their last 3 games are Ruddy, Natives, and Verdant. Getting a win here against UniQ, yes, at the bottom of the table, is exactly where they need to be, and they are doing it in style.
Let's see what Warjo can do with this situation. He's been handed. He's found 3, soon to be 4 members. He's locked up. That's the W, but won't be able to use it. There's no way he can get himself out of that one. Yet another clean kill here. And now they go on towards Rusty Sniper, who's without a flash. He's not able to do anything at all. No damage really on him, and UniQ gets absolutely melted by Ragnar. And at this point, I think we all know who's coming out on top. 12k ahead, and this will surely be game. UniQ will try and get back to his fountain to not ruin the KDA any further, but Chimera has other plans, and that's a good scoop. But it just doesn't matter. Yes, it can find a couple of kills, but it won't find your way back into the game. The shutdown goes over to Poopy, and Fourth Wall gets their 4th win, and maybe even tie themselves up for 4th place.
I want to give a shout out to you for this game. Quick look at the bottom of that scoreboard: 4-2 and 23. 27 kill participation out of a possible 30 was everywhere that he needed to be, right? Not being a part of 3 total kills in a game like that, it's definitely something to behold. Now, granted, Jarvan E gives attack speed, which gives you an assist, but I don't think that that should take away from just the immense amount of pressure that Ute was putting out.
I think it was a great game to specifically showcase like the whole change in dynamic that we've seen fall undergo, right? You'd say finally now like getting the space to fully unfold himself. Like we saw good signs from him in the first few weeks, but obviously with the way that there was inconsistency in the lineup, and now them having that consistent lineup, we get to see Youth shine a lot more initialize.
Yeah, I mean exactly that, and I think part of it as well is just how much more on the same page this team looked. Because one of the big criticisms this team was facing is it felt like they didn't have an identity. They looked lost on the map. They looked lost in terms of how they wanted to play the game. That's not the case anymore. You know exactly how they want to play the game, and it's basically look at wherever Jinrei or Chimera are and assume a fight will be happening in some bush, you know, Viper rat strat to take some knowledge over from Valorant and kind of go from that. And then you kind of realize that they are playing a lot of these dragon fights well. They are playing around lane pressure really well, and opening up them for Ute a bit more. And you can sort of see that this team has got a bit of potential. I don't know where the ceiling is at yet, and I think that will be tested towards the end of the split when they've got the current top 3 members to fight off again. But right now, that's not a bad trajectory to be on. That's a test that they could potentially throw some haymakers in.
I really agree, and I just want to pile on this because Fourth Wall, right? They looked horrible at the beginning of the split, and for this performance now, they've already taken some massive steps. For me, I want to see teams testing that, because the thing is, you cannot allow Jinrei to get Lissandra anymore. I think that is a point that we need to make. Remove that, then how does he perform? I want to see how much does that change. Maybe ban the Jarvan from you, because he was phenomenal in that as well. I want to see some more specific bans to try and ban some of the successful picks away from Fourth Wall, and if they continue to have success with different picks in the mid lane, for example, then I think this team can genuinely go really, really far, because the players so far have shown up individually and as a team.
But the thing is, that's worth noting as well with Jinrei's. Just a point here, because I look at numbers. That's something I do. And even before they got Ragnar locked in, they got that full-on team sheet, and before he started playing a lot of Lissandra, even back then he was super involved as a mid lane. I had like one of the highest kill participations across the entire league, right? So this guy's just super involved when it comes to everything, and I think that's just super exciting to watch here. But Rue, I want to throw this to you here for a second. When you look at a team like UniQ now on their 7th loss in a row, like what's got to give?
Well, I think that it has to start from just a little bit more proactivity through those early stages, and maybe just a bit more cognition about what is going wrong. They don't seem to have too many of the greatest ideas through the early stages. That Dragon, for example, I think that they had the opportunity to take it right. I came in saying they have the item advantage in the bot lane. This looks like an okay fight, but then just complete loss of what their loss conditions were. How were they going to lose this fight? Well, it's if Jinrei's gets in with the Lissandra angle. Yeah. And they had no vision of Lissandra. They just either had no vision or let him straight through. Seems like they've got that lack of critical thinking in the times that matter.
I think I would also put on this as well. There doesn't seem to be a lot of problem solving in the team right now. So you could kind of see there was an initial plan at the early on where we saw the Rel clear out that quadrant in the bottom corner and then go for the gank on bot lane. It's into Heimerdinger, it's into loads of turrets. They're not cleared out. The wave state's awful. All of these things, you can kind of go on and on and on. And it goes one for one, and the wave state's still awful. And it kind of derails from there. And it does feel like that ability to come up with a new plan when your initial plan is kind of not functional or not as reliable as you need it to be isn't really there within the team right now. And I think that is going to be a continued problem for this team unless they can find better ways to triage those kind of issues in-game and from draft.
Yeah, and with that, we're going to go to an interview with Unicorn, the mid laner of Team Unique here. So, first of all, commiserations on yet another loss here. I mean, 7 on the bounce now for you guys. Is it hard for you guys to keep the good spirits in the camp?
Yeah, it's definitely hard, I would say. We just keep throwing our early advantage, not necessarily that we had them this game, but our team fighting is just really awful, and it's very seeable as well.
Yeah, so is that something that you guys, do you think that's something you guys are going to be able to improve upon as we close out the season here?
Yeah, we're definitely putting our efforts into like fixing those issues, but it's like obviously hard because they're not looking that great at all, right?
No, so you guys had in week 1 and week 2, you guys went 1-1, right? And then since that, it has just been these 7 losses on the bounce now, I believe, right? So, I mean, that is obviously not super ideal, but again, you guys have a good mix of rookie players coming through, right? I believe that you as well have.
Yep.
This is your first season at a Division 1 level. Have you, and like obviously, let's put the results aside. Have you enjoyed like playing at this level? Do you think it's been a good challenge for you?
For sure, yeah. I feel very comfortable, to be honest, at this level. But I also think like there's a big difference between like the top teams and like the bottom teams, like especially in laning as well. Like the top tier mid laners, there's a huge difference between the bottom tier ones, but I feel like really comfortable, and I think I'm for sure able to compete at this level already.
Awesome, I'm glad to hear that. Anything you want to say before we let you go?
Just thanks for all the support, even though we've been doing so bad. That's everything, I think, yeah.
Thank you so much for your time, Unicorn, and
Yep.
Good luck next week.
Thanks, yeah.
With that, we're going to jump to the blue side of the mid lane and take a look over on that Jin race here. Actually, you're on the red side here, I believe, right?
Yes, sir, I was.
Yeah, so we did the opposite corners, but you did go to the blue side nexus, so that's kind of how it works, right? No. So 3 in a row on Lissandra. Should we call you Liz race instead, or what's the status?
I mean, it's 3 games when you give me Lissandra. I don't know, it's easy.
Would you prefer, like, let's say, would you prefer Liz race or Jen Sandra? I don't know what sounds better.
That's up to you, man.
Dude, it does sound quite bad, I'm not gonna lie. But just in general here right now, so you guys now have, well, I'd say you guys finally have your full team in order, but you've been playing with Molto this week instead of Faye, right? So,
Yes,
but have you guys felt a more, let's say, like, more like, have you felt as more of a cohesive unit overall over the course of the last couple of weeks now?
Yeah, for sure. Like, we were super mental boom after our first 3 weeks when we went 1-6. And I think the roster swap was really good for us. Not because the players were bad, but because it like reset our entire team's mental. So I think like that made a huge difference for the entire team.
Yeah, because again, like it's not like Blink is a bad player, for example, right? Because
No,
we've kind of seen him
sure
in Domino. He's been absolutely with Smurfing yesterday.
For sure.
But the switch to Ragnar has really been so good for your team, and I kind of want to touch on him because he has been playing really, really well so far, I'd say.
Yeah, for sure.
Is there anything like, and so again, like obviously comes in from a bit of a different league scene than the one that you normally have been in, and like has he, what does he bring to the team?
I mean, Ragnar is very vocal and he's really good like mechanically, and it just makes the game a lot easier when we have a really stable bot lane who doesn't, yeah, I mean, coin flip it.
Yeah, awesome. So, so obviously, you have had a pretty good week this week, 2-0. First one for you as well.
Pretty
That must
amazing.
feel fantastic. So, when I spoke with Chimera last week, he was like, "We are making playoffs 100%." Are you in agreement with him?
Yeah, for sure.
Cool.
I
believe it
also
was
told you
Chimera.
that last week.
I wish you'd have told me that, not Chimera. I need
Yes,
to not
sorry,
put
it
the
was.
words into his mouth. It was you, right? Yes, it's hard sometimes to. You two are very different people, right? Like, or they're kind of the same people. You both play mid lane at some point, but no. Before I let you go and let you off the hook here, is there anything you want to say to the people out there?
Not really. I mean, thanks for the support, but I don't know. See you at playoffs.
See you at playoffs, and maybe we'll see you next week after another win. So thank you so much for your time.
No problem.
And with that, we're gonna throw to a short break. When we come back, we're gonna have UniQ versus Domino going. Oh, that's not right. But we have another match coming your way. Don't go anywhere.